Hello, my name is Shannon Finley. I am currently a high school Spanish teacher at Fox Chapel Area School District. I am a high school Spanish teacher teaching Spanish 1, 2, 3, and 4. Currently, I'm teaching 2 and 4. As you can tell, this is my classroom. I have some flags back there representing a plethora of Spanish-speaking countries from Latin America. Well, my degree, my bachelor's degree, comes from the Dietrich School of Arts and Sciences. I graduated in 2011, and my majors were Spanish and Africana Studies. Then in 2012, I graduated from the School of Education, also from Pitt. That being said, thus me being a Spanish teacher. During my time at Pitt, I enjoyed a lot of the activities and the programming and events that were given to us that I was able to partake in. One of the clubs that I participated in was known as Steps of Faith. That was a faith-based organization that I found that taught me a lot about teamwork, a lot about conflict resolution, and a lot about how to confront your fears and being courageous and taking risks. Another club that I ended up becoming the chair for the club my graduate year, the Caribbean and Latin American Student Association. That club taught me about not just focusing my academics on speaking Spanish, but other cultures as well, and ones that kind of have an integral part in learning about your own culture and having a less ethnocentric approach to life, especially living in the United States, where our culture tends to have that robust feeling of being proud and having homage and having a patriotic sentiment towards our country or state and city. A couple other clubs I was a member of, too many to mention, but I really enjoyed what I could get from them. And it wasn't just a check mark to put in my resume or throw in my transcript, so when I would go into a job interview I could say I did all these things, but it's what can I get from them that I can then give back? What is it that I'm receiving from the Pitt family, the Pitt community? When I was a student, I had several faculty members and staff members that really impacted me. In the Africana Studies Department, my advisor, Rhonda Sharif, and Dr. Yolanda Covington Ward, and even the administrative assistant. They were a part of my family when I would need assistance, when I'm trying to pick classes, when I would go and cry and try to figure out how am I going to graduate, when am I going to graduate, what classes I need to take. If it wasn't for those people, I probably would not have even graduated, not only on time, but with the passion that I have for education, the passion that I have for servant leadership. A little story, Arande, I had went to him before my senior year, the summer before, crying because I was like, I didn't get into Teach for America. I didn't get the Woodrow Wilson Fellowship, and I was running out of ideas that I felt passionate about that I really wanted to do. And he sat me down and said simply, what is it that you want to do? I said, I want to teach. He said, do that. I'm like, but I didn't get into these programs. He says, it doesn't matter. So I took a step back. I got patient with myself. I reevaluated what is it that I want to do, how do I want to serve. And I looked back at my experience and I realized that I had all the tools I needed to be able to be where I am today. So I ended up going to the School of Education at Pitt after talking with a couple professors and deans that really encouraged me after I had shared my experience of not receiving those other opportunities to advance my career in the field of education. Well, once I was in the School of Ed, I had a lot of support from my classmates. I had a strong cohort as far as foreign language teachers helping me learn how to hone in on my craft. Well, from that, I also had Dr. Heather Hendry. She was one of my graduate professors. And one thing I really admired about her as far as molding me and helping me become the teacher that I am today is that when you're with your students, it's not about just the pedagogical practices, which is fancy for how you teach them. It's the relationships you build with them. What is it that you're trying to get them to do, and how are you going to get them to get there? So if you want your students to be able to conjugate verbs left and right, backwards, eyes closed, hands behind your back, what do you know about them? What is it that you can show them that this skill is useful? Why is it useful to you? And when I took all these skills that I learned from undergrad and grad school, all the programming that I did, I realized my Pitt family is very strong. They support me. They care about me. And I want to do the same thing for not just the alumni that are coming out, coming from the class of 2020, class of 2021 that will be coming out next year, but for the students that I educate currently in my class. And one of the things that I know that I have been successful in that is when I go back and I see students from my other districts. I've taught at Pittsburgh Public Schools, I've taught for Franklin Regional School District, and I've taught for Woodland Hills School District, pre-K to 12. So I have a well-rounded experience in teaching children, and from that, all those different relationships, years go by. I've been teaching for about a decade now. So when I see them working, or I run into them at the grocery store, or run into them at the movies or the mall, and they say, "Hey, Senorita Finley, hey, Miss Finley, oh my gosh, Miss Finley," and I ask them how they're doing, and I see what's going on in their life. I know that there's some way that somehow that I made an impact on them because I made a point to build a relationship with them. Because I made a point to make sure that I could see that they're going to be successful. I made a point to make sure that I can help them find a way to be the best version of themselves today and be a greater version of themselves tomorrow. And without that, and without learning that, I don't know where I would be today as a teacher. And then with that experience in and of itself, I use that to help network. I like to connect with other students, not just the ones that I teach, but the current Pitt students. I have several students that I actually used to teach that go to Pitt currently, and a few that have graduated. I have some that are cheerleaders. I have some that are athletes. I have some that are in leadership roles, and it's amazing to see that growth from a student that I taught in K-12 education to now a student at the University of Pittsburgh, my alma mater, and then later will become brothers and sisters in the Pitt family as alumni. And with that, I am a member of Panthers Forward, which I really love this program because it helps fortify that passion that I have to help students when they're in undergrad to find their way, just like my advisors helped me find my way, just like my professors helped me find my way, even other classmates who helped me find my way. And so that form of networking, that relationship building is so important to me, so that way when we leave the university, whether we're there for 3 years, 4 years, whether we come back for more and get a grad degree, okay, what's important is what is it that you're getting, and then how are you going to give it back? As well as my networking experience, I utilize my role as the chair of the Young Alumni Advisory Team to allow opportunities for me to meet and reach out to other alumni that want to be engaged and connected with our Pitt family, as well as with my experience with Panthers Forward, getting current students to have that desire and that passion, kind of setting the seed now to how can you being an alumni be beneficial to you? And then what can you do as a member of the alumni giving to your Pitt family and community? And so in this networking position that I was given the opportunity to lead, I am thoroughly enjoying, and I'm so passionate and so happy and blessed to be a part of this Pitt family and be a part of the YAT team in order to make sure that we're all connected and ensuring that we have programming and leadership and mentorship and guidance to keep us connected and help us grow and be able to learn from what we had from in the university experience as undergrad or grad students and how we can apply that and take that into the real world. So for me, my words that I want to leave you with is, what are you getting? And then how are you going to give something back? What do you want to receive? And then how can you give it back? What skills are you learning? And then how can you give it back? Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope you enjoy the rest of homecoming. Hail to Pitt.
Hi, Pitt students, faculty, staff, and alum. My name is Bryant Andrews. I'm so honored to be able to speak to you a little bit about my Pitt experience, the valuable experiences I was able to have as an undergrad student, valuable experiences I was able to have at Pitt Law, and how both of those experiences have contributed to where I am and who I am today. So I graduated Pitt undergrad in 2014. I thought it was awesome to have such amazing people from the faculty and staff who went out of their way to build mentor and friendship relationships with me and advise me on what classes I could be taking, what activities I could be getting involved in. I have mentors who specifically help to train my mind to practice mindfulness so that I could be aware of what my skill sets were and how that might contribute not only to my experiences at Pitt, but help other people's experiences at Pitt. For me personally, I was able to get involved in a lot of pre-law organizations and organizations to help out the Oakland community, and I found them very enriching for myself, and I think my friends at the time had a good time as well. I knew after my first semester as an undergrad student at Pitt that I would be in Pittsburgh for a long time. Here we are, 10 years later, I'm still here. And why? Well, I think that speaks highly to the institution and to our great city that we're in, that we get to be right next door to as neighbors. Pitt has so much to offer, and if you are listening to this video, you already know this because you're a student, you're staff, you're a fellow alum, and you know how awesome the experience is. Today, I am an attorney. I've been practicing labor and employment law right here downtown for the last 3 years. And I still connect with my friends that I made in undergrad way back in 2010. I still reach out to teachers that were influential at that time and staff, just wonderful individuals who've helped me to become who I am today. I hope that you guys have an awesome homecoming Roc Talk. I hope that you enjoy this time, and hail to Pitt.
What is up, fellow Pitt alums? I don't think this is how we expected 2020 homecoming to be, but despite the fact that we're not all tailgating together or running into each other at Hems, I'm incredibly honored to have been asked to give this Roc Talk, and even more grateful that you're taking the time to listen to it. I graduated in 2012 from the College of Business Administration. My name's Sarah Weber. There I received a major in marketing and a certificate in public and professional writing. And, my experiences both inside and outside of the classroom have really shaped kind of who I am today and the trajectory I was on. Whether it was studying for finals at the Cathedral of Learning and being fortunate enough to be staying up all night in this absolutely beautiful building, to my experiences as a professional development consultant or with the business organization Phi Beta Lambda, all of them led to where I am today, and I'm guessing where, each and every one of you are today. I, through Phi Beta Lambda was able to meet a bunch of like-minded business students, and, we were able to travel nationally in different business competitions. Through that experience, you learn things like being with people that maybe are in different work styles than you are, being able to present and, orally communicate, being able to meet a deadline and feel the pressure of kind of being judged and getting feedback and getting criticism. And I was really able to take that to my first corporate role outside of Pitt in corporate healthcare marketing. And then I was able to shift into the agency side of my business and my industry. And through that, was able to work with brands like Nestle, Baskin Robbins, Tribe Hummus, just the ultimate opportunities as a marketer from a strategic and creative standpoint, working with the most amazing teams and getting to promote just the coolest things. I mean, who knew the kind of work that went into shooting a bowl of ice cream is all I have to say. So since my time at UPMC and in these agency roles, I have actually since started my own business called Sweb Marketing. And as a business owner, it's been incredibly rewarding. I'm able to hire and work with incredible people, and also just continue to keep a pulse on different Pitt connections. Through going back and giving presentations at marketing classes, I've been able to kind of bring in job shadows or allow, people to do informational interviews with me and give back in a way that, I always wanted as a student, and basically look up to someone who is where I want to be in 5 years, ask them those stupid questions that we now know just weren't that stupid at the time, and just kind of gain that understanding and realize the impact that it carried on me then and what impact I'm able to kind of pass forward now. In addition to doing that and having my business, which if you're interested in marketing or looking for a marketing partner for where you're currently working at, visit swebmarketing.com. But I've also kind of taken that passion for marketing and combined it with my passion for eating and drinking. This definitely isn't coffee. To start what is my new passion project, an Instagram account called The Pittsburgh Web. You can find it at The Pittsburgh Web. And, anyone who is living in Pittsburgh, wants to keep a pulse on the city that they spent 4 years in, should follow and, shoot me a message with what you think. But essentially, the Pittsburgh Web has two main goals. Number one, to answer that age-old question, what am I going to do, eat, or drink tonight? Or kind of the primary reason is number two, which, the world we're living in right now and our current climate has made it incredibly challenging for small local businesses to stay afloat. And, they're killing the innovation game, whether it be a restaurant who's doing a rooftop dinner series or creating, innovative to-go boxes, whether it be a workout studio that's doing virtual classes or a craft studio that is doing DIY kits that you can do at home, anything and everything to allow us to feel safe and comfortable and allow them to keep their doors open. And the biggest role that I want to play is to make sure everyone knows about it, that everyone knows that they can do these things and still support local businesses in the meantime. So Sweb Marketing, the Pittsburgh Web, and I do want to take a second to just bring all that back to my experience at Pitt. I think there's a couple main things that I really just reflect on and I'm grateful for. One being kind of the panels that I was able to attend. I met my very first mentor, who then actually gave me the connection for my very first internship. And ironically, 5-6 years later, we were working at the same agency together. It all really came full circle. And I'm super grateful for the role that she played kind of in my professional development and my professional career. And then the other thing is a little bit more of an anecdote, but just kind of a surreal experience. My senior year at Pitt, I was part of a class called Projects in Marketing. And it was actually a course that you had to apply to be a part of. And instead of Scantron tests and in the classroom homework, we actually took it out of the classroom and were assigned a client. Our classmates became our coworkers. We all had to kind of apply for and assign different parts of the agency and were able to work with NFL Play 60. And the kind of culmination of the work throughout the semester brought us to bringing all of our ideas to a Steelers game. And I bring this up because fast forward 7-8 years later, as a part of my business, I recently have been able to work with one of the owners of the Steelers to bring his first book to market and handle all the digital marketing promotion of that. And, what a cool experience for me to sit down with him and say, number one, I'm such a huge Steelers fan. I have so much respect for the franchises and specifically this franchise and what it built. But I also had exposure to that, back in my time at Pitt and was able to see a little bit and have a little bit of taste of that. And that brings me a unique perspective and positioning when, I'm taking on this kind of role. So, I'm super grateful for Pitt. I very much encourage you, no matter what industry you're in, to give back, stay approachable. I know there were several times where I was applying for jobs and looked to see, hey, is there an HR person who graduated from Pitt here on LinkedIn or someone in the role that I'm aspiring to be in? And sent them a direct message. And, most of them were incredibly responsive, incredibly willing to help because they do see themselves in you. And, encouraging you to stay connected. And there's no other way to end this by a big ol' hail to Pitt. Thanks, everyone.
Good evening and happy Stay at Homecoming 2020. My name is Marcy Johnson and I'm the Director of Young Alumni and Student Programs for the Pitt Alumni Association. Thank you for joining us for this year's Panthers Under 30 hosted by the Young Alumni Advisory Team. The Young Alumni Advisory Team is a group of 25 volunteers, many on this call this evening. Young Alumni currently account for more than 80,000 out of the 320,000 Pitt alumni. And by serving on the Young Alumni Advisory Team, they play a significant role in helping the Pitt Alumni Association engage with their peers. They help build a strong network of young alumni by encouraging them to begin lifetime relationships with Pitt, encourage young alumni to contribute their time, talents, and treasures, and create and support programming and events that engage alumni and strengthen their affinity to Pitt. This event is unique as we wanted it to be in a Zoom meeting setup and not webinar format. So we encourage you to have your videos on and be engaged in the conversations tonight. For tonight's agenda, we will be hearing from our Roc Talks speakers, doing a question and answer portion, and then go into breakout rooms for networking. As a friendly reminder, don't forget to keep an eye out for the Secret Panther clue. If you're not sure what that means, check out the Young Alumni Advisory Team's social media pages to learn more. And now I would like to introduce one of our Blue and Gold Society members, Alyssa Berry, who will begin the introductions of our Roc Talk speakers tonight. Welcome, Alyssa.
Thanks, Marcy. As Marcy mentioned, I'm Alyssa Berry, and I'm a junior studying English Literature and Communications. I'm excited to introduce one of our panelists tonight, Shannon Finley. Shannon earned her undergraduate degree from the School of Arts and Sciences in 2011 and graduate degree from the School of Education in 2012. Shannon is currently a Spanish teacher at Fox Chapel Area School District. Additionally, Shannon is the current chair of the Young Alumni Advisory Team and won this year's Ivan and Mary Novick Award for Young Alumni Leadership. Shannon will now share a brief overview from her Roc Talk. Everyone, please welcome Shannon.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you this evening and my fellow alumni to discuss some of the amazing opportunities I experienced as a student at Pitt. In my video for my Roc Talk, I talked about my experience at Pitt and how it shaped my career, giving back to Pitt and my community. What I hope to experience with you all is what I experienced as a student and what I hope to as an alumni to continue to give back to my fellow Pitt alumni that matriculate from seniors to alumni. Thank you so much for having me.
There we go. Thank you, Shannon. Appreciate that. So hello, everyone. My name is Brian Bixler, and I'm a sophomore studying political science and sociology, and I'm also a member of Blue and Gold Society. So I'm excited to introduce our next panelist for tonight, Sarah Weber. She is a 2012 College of Business graduate, and Sarah is also the owner of Spur Marketing with nearly 10 years of marketing experience as a strategist, digital marketer, copywriter, and social specialist. She has worked in a variety of industries with brands like Nestle, Tribe Hummus, Baskin-Robbins International, Shopback, UPMC, and McGee Women's Research Institute. And then beyond business, Sarah has also taken her passions for food and marketing to create the Instagram account, which is at the Pittsburgh Web. I just followed it, and you guys should too. Everyone, please welcome Sarah as she shares a brief review of her featured Roc Talk from this week.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me, for being here. Brian, thanks for the intro and for the follow. Yeah, just if you didn't get a chance to check out my Roc Talk, similar to what Shannon said, I think my experience at Pitt, both inside and outside the classroom, really shaped kind of where I am today, starting in, the corporate side of things, shifting to agency, and now running my own business, along with just the connections that I've made and been able to continue to nurture over the past several years. And as I just want to echo something Shannon said as well. A big thing that I've kind of talked about is making sure that you give back to current Pitt students as well as younger alums, or even people already in your industry trying to break in either in a new way get a new role, any time that someone reaches out to be a resource, I think it's, a great opportunity that we can kind of jump in and be there.
Thank you, Sarah, and good evening, everyone. My name is Caroline Goodwin, and I'm a sophomore studying biological sciences on the pre-med track, and I'm also a member of the Blue and Gold Society. Our final panelist for this evening is Bryant Andrews. Bryant is a 2014 School of Arts and Science grad and a 2017 School of Law graduate. He currently practices labor and employment law as an associate attorney at Coase & O'Connor. He was selected as a top 40 under 40 attorney by the National Black Lawyers in January of 2020, and as a top 30 under 30 Pittsburgh professional by the Pittsburgh Business Times in August of 2020. He is a proud partner and a new dad to twin sons. Brian will now share a brief overview from his Roc Talk. Everyone, please welcome Brian.
Hi, thank you so much, everybody, and thank you, Caroline. I'm so excited to have the opportunity to connect with you all and talk about what it might look like to stay involved with Pitt after graduation, and how to maintain strong relationships with the Pitt community, and how to leverage the many skills that you're going to receive as a Pitt student to help the Pitt community after you are graduated and now working as a professional. And then hopefully also get the opportunity to speak with you all about some professional or career advice, for new graduates. I know we have some students on here who are juniors, seniors, just getting ready to take that plunge into the professional community, and that transition can be interesting sometimes. And so I'm happy to discuss that as well.
Great, thank you all. It is now time to turn to a few questions from our audience. So you can do this in two different ways. Feel free to unmute yourself to ask a question of one of our Roc Talk speakers, or submit one through the chat feature, and I will facilitate those questions throughout the call.
I have a question. It can be for all three of you. I'd be interested to hear, just in general, like, what opportunities for growth do you see in the Pittsburgh area for young professionals and for alumni who might be transitioning out of school or are still relatively new in the career sphere?
I'd be happy to kick that off. I initially came to Pittsburgh in 2010 to pursue my undergraduate studies, and a common comment I heard from individuals in grad school at that time, professionals at that time, was that a lot of students would come to Pittsburgh, get their four-year degree or their graduate degree, and then leave. And I think what we're seeing more and more frequently are that Pitt students, like myself, are coming to Pittsburgh, are falling in love with this city, falling in love with this school, falling in love with this community, and are building roots here, starting families here, launching their careers here. And I think that that speaks a lot to the new industry that's coming to Pittsburgh. It speaks a lot to how our medical opportunities for students who are pursuing anything in the health sciences are just exploding, with UPMC being one of the largest employers in Western Pennsylvania, if not the largest, I believe. We see innovation coming to Pittsburgh, and the technology industries, Uber coming to Pittsburgh and making a headquarters here, with Google being in Bakery Square and having a presence here, with Facebook coming in back in 2018 and setting up shop here. And so I think the opportunity for students upon graduation to settle down and to really find meaningful, long-lasting work here is bigger and brighter than it's ever been. And it's, I think, a great time to take advantage of that and dig down and settle roots here in Pittsburgh.
And to kind of piggyback off of that, Brian, thank you so much, is one of my experiences as far as being not from Pittsburgh, let alone Pennsylvania originally. I think people, like all of us, like, we are all here together because we want to be here together and we want to have growth and opportunity. So people like us who want to be with the students and help them, that's one of the resources that we can provide for them. So if we're that type of person where we want to be able to give back when we've come here, then we're showing them how they can utilize us, which they become useful later as resources to go ahead and grow in whatever opportunities they're looking to seek, as far as whether it's career, academic, professional, or personal. You're muted, Sarah.
I sure am. I'll just kind of add that a little bit to echo what Brian said, and then also to echo what Shannon said. First off, I think startups are a huge opportunity in Pittsburgh, not just kind of the big brands and big organizations, which of course are going to have a numerous amount of opportunities over the year. But if you even like Google like top Pittsburgh startups 2020, 2019, every industry, things are popping up, often spearheaded from some sort of technology, but things like HR software development and robotics, you know, all kind of across the gamut. I think that's really an untapped kind of area that people aren't looking into, and they're not necessarily as high or as prevalent in job search boards. And then I will say again, to just echo what Shannon said, there has never been a time that I've reached out in the last, 10 years almost of my career to someone at a specific industry or a specific company on LinkedIn who was a Pitt alum and just said, hey, interested in learning more about what you do or this company, can I just have 15 minutes of your time? No one ever says no to that. People love talking about themselves for the most part, except for me. And I think it's something that a lot of people feel uncomfortable doing, but should really take advantage of.
Awesome. I see Haley, a current senior, has a question for Bryant. So she's currently a senior going to law school next year, hopefully applying now. Can you talk a little bit about any career advice for the transition into your professional career from undergrad, as well as how practicing law in a city setting has influenced the issues you deal with as a current lawyer?
Haley, those are a couple of great questions, and I'll try to break them down one by one briefly for you. So that transition from undergrad to law school, and then from law school to practicing, can be serious. And if you are already thinking about what that transition might look like, and you're already asking these questions, you're likely going to be the kind of person who's going to be pretty prepared for that transition. So kudos to you. But the transition from undergrad to law school was a little bit difficult for me personally. I didn't have, I didn't come from a long lineage of lawyers in my family. I didn't really have a lot of connections in the legal community. All I knew is I just wanted to be a lawyer. But what I did find was I was very lucky in going to Pitt Law specifically to partner with the faculty there at Pitt Law, to partner with the admissions office, with my professors, with my peers, to help make that experience as fruitful and engaging and productive as possible. So whether you go to Pitt Law or a different law school, obviously I think Pitt's awesome. But I would just really encourage you to take advantage of the professors and the staff who are there. They want to see you succeed. They want to help you leverage those relationships, because that you can use as a springboard for when you do graduate law school and you want to start practicing. I can't tell you how many times I've been doing research in preparation for a case, and I've gone back and I've sent an email or picked up the phone and given a quick call to an old law school professor or a colleague I met in law school and said, hey, I know you specialize in this nuanced area. Is there any advice you could give me, or can you direct my research in this or that way? And for the benefit of everyone else on the Zoom right now, I think that advice applies not just for law school, but for anyone who wants to pursue any kind of graduate program and then enter the professional realm after that. The relationships you're going to build in that program are not only going to help you to succeed while you're there, but then will help you even afterwards. So definitely, I would recommend to be intentional about those relationships, and feel free to leverage them. They're there to help you. They're there to guide you. They're there to assist you. Briefly, with respect to your question about practicing in the city, I don't really have much context to compare. My only experience has been practicing in the city. I've never practiced elsewhere. So with that, I would say it's been great. I think it I do work at a large law firm, and most large firms, if that's the track you want to take, tend to be in big cities. And so you have the convenience of having the courthouse right there, of having a lot of clientele right there, congregated in one area. So I wish I could give you more insight about what that might look like compared to not working in the city, but unfortunately, I don't have that personal experience.
Thanks. I'm loving this little reunion happening in the chat. It's very sweet. The next, I see you laughing, Rico. My next question is, how do you not mine, another question asked is, how do you leverage your experience in your respective fields to engage students and spur a greater connection of pathways to your career paths? And what are some ways as alumni we can give back through connections and relationships?
This unmuting thing. I can kind of jump in there. I think one way that I've done it is reaching out to past professors and keeping kind of a pulse with them over the years. And recently, like for example, I was in College of Business Administration, I'm in marketing, and I now for the last 3-4 years have been asked to come back and speak at intro marketing and services marketing. And through kind of those interactions, I then am able to make connections with students who come up to me afterwards. Hey, I want a job shadow. Hey, I want to do an informational interview. And I'll bring my card or give them my information. So I think professors are kind of a great gateway because otherwise I think it could be a little overwhelming. And that is just kind of a really nice way to, number one, speak to kind of where you've been and what you've been through, but also to hear firsthand what students are still going through, the questions that they're asking, and kind of help in that way.
And Sarah, you're very right about using advisors or professors kind of as your leverage. This is a little bit of dated information, but I want to say it was back in 2014. Arande Sharif, he's a lecturer in the Africana Studies Department. So if anyone who has taken any courses in there, especially dance, he teaches courses in that. He's also my current mentor and also my teacher, my dance teacher. I was already, I think, 3 years into teaching, and I just wanted to just dance. So I would go to his classes, and some people thought I was a student because I look kind of like a student still. And I remember there was a particular student that was struggling with choreographing his final. And I actually ended up co-choreographing this student's final, even though I wasn't a student. And then because he was very nervous with it, I ended up performing his final with him, even though I wasn't a student or enrolled. But having that relationship with Arande and having that experience with him, and there's more stories behind that as far as like his mentorship and how that till now has shaped me to be the teacher I am, because he is a teacher and I'm a teacher. So a lot of what I've learned has been through him. And then because of what he's taught me, I was able to help that current senior pass his final, even though I wasn't an enrolled student at the time. But when you use your experiences from the people who are your role models at Pitt, those are ways you can use your leverage. And then also kind of roundhouse, I've been teaching for about 10 years now. And some of my students that I've taught at the different districts are now actually at Pitt. So some of my experience as a teacher doesn't even end, because I have about 5 or 6 students that I've either coached or taught that are now at Pitt. And so I feel my due diligence is to continue teaching them and helping them, even though they're no longer my student and they're now at Pitt and they're adults. But how can I use, again, my experience from at Pitt and help them become successful? And then when they matriculate to adulthood and become an alumni, how can I continue to help? So I feel like my job never truly ends.
Thank you. So the next question is for Sarah from Devesh, who's currently a Blue and Gold Society senior. He's pre-med and do not dabble in business at all, really, but I think this question is still important for everyone. With your background in so many companies, do you think your experiences, bits from different companies help bring you to where you are? Or in retrospect, would you have rather stayed with one company?
Great question. Don't blame me for not dabbling in business. Actually, most of my friends are in the medical profession. No, I love having my own business. And, I think it depends on who you speak to, but I started in corporate healthcare and very quickly knew I wanted to kind of shift out of the corporate side of things. They're very, focused on one thing and mastering it nonstop. And for me, I have a lot of different things I want to do. So in terms of working with all those different industries, what you very quickly learn is, number one, who would think about, for example, I worked with a national power supply company who handles the electrical wiring for all of the big broadcast networks. So things that are like going on NBC or ABC or, the Olympics, for example, when they air. And it's just very interesting. Like, that's the stuff that I geek out on, because I'm able to learn about all of these kind of nuanced industries that I never would have had exposure to. And it's kind of my job to become an expert in all of them. I would say because of that, and what has been really helpful in running my business today and how I work with clients is, I feel like a lot of more standardized agencies templatize their services. So they kind of productize, hey, we offer XYZ, it's this price, this package, this package, this package. Whereas for me, I've really seen over the years and through kind of that exposure that it's important to really kind of provide individualized guidance based on an individual company or business or restaurant, whatever it may be, whatever their need is. And I actually get a lot of inspiration for what I bring to each client from outside of the industry. I mean, think about if every single, I don't know why Nike came to mind, but like if every single athletic shoe company was doing the exact same campaign and the exact same strategy, consumers would get fatigued from that. Like if you're seeing the same exact thing, in your Facebook feed, for example, there's no way for a consumer to understand what the difference is. So by getting kind of experience outside from other industries, you're able to kind of individualize your approach and hopefully get, whoever you're kind of working with to stand out a little bit more to, all of you, depending on who the target is.
Thank you. And for Harold and Samantha, Sammy, it's good to see you. I know you're living in Las Vegas right now. I'm going to hold off on those questions for the breakout rooms. Bryant, Shannon, and Sarah are all from Pittsburgh, but we do have people on the call like Max Knice is in Atlanta. Gordon Lauterbach is representing from Denver. And then we have Kevin, who's representing from DC, and I'm sure they'll be able to answer some of those questions in the chat, in the networking portion. Rico, I don't know if you missed anything in the chat. Sorry you got knocked off. Kelly, I'm sorry, I'll ask this question again for Sarah, another one. How did you get up the guts to start your own business, and what challenges did you run into when starting that?
So starting my own business, the first time was actually based on personal circumstances. So I was working in Pittsburgh, had some family issues, and needed to move outside of the city back home. And as a result of that, I needed a flexible schedule. I couldn't do a standard 9 to 5 or in agency world, a standard 80-hour work week. And because of that, I just ended up through past relationships doing some individualized consulting. And that kind of turned into word of mouth. And I started kind of this round one, if you will, of sweat marketing. And very quickly, because of some work I did for a local health system, I was reached out to by another agency. They said, hey, we saw this work. Would you come work for us? And I just felt like I still had more to learn. I still wanted more exposure to what other people were doing in the space and how their approaches differed from mine. So I did that, and then was approached by an agency in Pittsburgh and moved back a couple years ago. And again, just really felt like I still had more that I wanted to do. However, I also very quickly remembered how much I hated 80-hour work weeks and missed the flexibility. So started my business again with a few clients that wanted to follow me. I think the scariest part about your business period, no matter what industry you're in, is there's just inherent risk in terms of cash flow and client flow. And there are some days where I get 6 calls from new potential clients in a day. And I'm like, oh my God, if all of these go through at the same time, I am going to be decimated. But then there are other times, like during COVID, for example, I lost 3 huge clients in March when COVID hit because certain industries obviously needed to pause and take a step back. And that was very scary for me. But thankfully, after a few months, they all kind of were like, okay, we need to re-strategize. So I would say it is scary, but it's also so rewarding. Number one, to have the flexibility to be your own boss and to kind of run things the way you want to. And number two, to work with and surround yourself with people that you want to be around and that you learn from and that you grow from. I found for me, no matter where I worked, that was the biggest challenge. And that's what I kind of wanted to break away from. So the risk was kind of worth it.
Awesome. We'll wrap this portion up with one last question from Sophie for everyone. When you transitioned from college to adulthood, what was something that surprised you or you were not prepared for, either in your career or your personal life?
I'll try to keep mine brief because I can talk forever about this, but I will say in the field of teaching, being prepared for a transition is different than I think in perhaps other career fields, because I feel like prior to teaching, it was you go to one school and you stay at this school and you're going to be at this school and you're going to do whatever the school wants you to do and all this great stuff. You're going to love it. They're going to love you and all of that. And that was not my experience at all. And having been at my 5th school district and having different roles now at this new district, I feel that all of those pieces and those other school districts, I've been in about 5 different school districts, about 10 different schools. So altogether, I have maybe over 5,000 students. And so I never thought that was I was going to do. Like when I went to grad school, they didn't say, these are the things you're going to expect. I wasn't taught certain things that I didn't know I was going to learn. And I knew there were certain things you would learn by experience. I understood that. But there are pieces of my experience that I did not even fathom would happen or occur. And some of them were heartbreaking. Some of them were traumatizing. And, you bounce back and you grow from those experiences. And so life is your greatest teacher. Experience is your greatest teacher. So some of those experiences, you just kind of roll with the punches and you figure it out. And then like Sarah and Bryant were saying, like, I had my resources. I already mentioned Aronde. There are other people, Dr. Covington Ward. Like there are so many people from Pitt who truly helped me become the teacher I am today, that if it wasn't for them, I don't know if I would even be talking to y'all right now. But that's all I'm going to say, so I don't take up all the time.
Those are great comments, and I'll follow up on that. And I'm actually going to tie in some aspects about work culture that I saw some questions in the group chat about work environment and work culture. I think the most difficult transition for me going from a student to a professional is that, like we've discussed, when you're in school, everyone is on your side. Other students might be competing with you for top grades and things like that, and depending on how specialized your field is. But for the most part, everyone wants to see you succeed. Your parents want to see you succeed. Your professors want to see you succeed. Your advisors want to see you succeed. Obama wants to see you succeed. Oprah wants to see you succeed. Everyone has a vested interest in you. But then you will become a professional. And in some professions, particularly like mine, speaking from my experience as a lawyer, it's extremely competitive. And not everyone wants to see you succeed. Indeed, people make a lot of money on your failure, hoping, planning, prepping for you to fail. And that was a transition that shook me, that I was, the question was, where did you feel like you were not prepared for it? And I would answer that in the affirmative. I surely did not. And I found that that was not only from opposing counsel, but, from other associate attorneys in my firm initially, or from other partners in my firm initially, and learning how to navigate difficult personalities, large personalities, contentious or aggressive personalities in the workplace is an essential skill that isn't necessarily taught in school. It's not taught in college. You kind of just have to stumble through it and figure it out yourself. But I would encourage you to consider when you're looking for that first job after college, there's going to be so much pressure for you to just get the job, because you're going to have student loans to pay back. You have rent to pay for. You just got that cute new puppy that you need to feed. You've got life expenses, right? And there's so much pressure when you graduate just to get a job. And I know I felt that. But I want to encourage you to keep in mind how important it is not to sacrifice the kind of work culture you want to have in the process, and say, you know what, this is a work environment that for X and Y reasons, I'm getting some red flags that, you know, might not be good for me, but it's okay because they're going to give me a paycheck. When you graduate, people will tell you on your commencement day that you are so valuable, that you are highly sought after, you know, that you are the next leaders in your community. And those things are true. And I encourage you to hold on to that and remember that when you're out there applying for jobs, and don't just settle for whoever gives you the biggest paycheck or whoever gives you that first offer. Really assess, will I be happy here? Is this going to be a work environment that's consistent with my personality? Is this going to be a work environment where they're going to seek to promote and grow and develop me, or where they're going to want to you know, tear me apart? As an employment attorney, part of what I do is I litigate issues of hostile work environments where people are, you know, go to work every day facing work environments where they feel like they have to quit because their bosses or coworkers are treating them unfavorably or even flat out discriminating against them. I don't want that for you. So be wise, consider the work culture you're going to get into. In spite of that real pressure there is to just land the gig and get that paycheck going.
Awesome. I'm sure this whole group and this chat is literally, as the kids say it, lit. But we're gonna break you out. Am I embarrassing blue and golds right now? Sorry. We are gonna break you up into your breakout rooms, which I'm so excited about. Just do your magic over there. As we wrap things up, I want to take a moment to thank Shannon, Sarah, and Bryant for sharing their time and talents with us this evening. I'd like to give each of you a moment to share some brief final thoughts. Shannon, why don't you start?
Of course I'll start. I just want to say thank you so much, guys, for taking the time to listen to me and talk about my experiences with Pitt and how now that has shaped me to be the person I am. And I'm really hoping that encourages you, inspires you to go forth and do something great. And I know that sounds corny, cheesy, cliche, whatever, but I truly do mean it. Like, we have the ability to make an impact, and I would love to see more people do that. And you guys are all leaders. Half of you I remember because we went to school together. Some of you are fresh, bright new faces, and it would be exciting to just see everyone just show their talent, and their ability to demonstrate that Pitt pride and demonstrate all the skills that you've learned.
Awesome. Sarah?
Echo all of that. A lot of potential on this Zoom screen right now. I would say final thoughts. Number one, continue to utilize your network, utilize me. I know there are a lot of people who are not in business or marketing or foodies, but I still know a lot of people in your respective industries and spaces, and I'm happy to make connections if you do reach out. So keep that in mind. Continue to use me as a resource in any way, shape, or form. Number two, go to Soul Biscuit. I think I talked about that in one or two of the breakout rooms, but I'll kind of leave that piece with you. And number three, I don't think I answered the question about the challenge going into adulthood, but for me, it was finding a nail in my tire and not knowing what to do. So buy that book about how to handle real life things, because I highly recommend it.
All right. And as everyone is going to be texting Rico now, how about Bryant? Why don't you close it up?
You all, I just first want to thank you again for inviting me to hang out with you guys. You are all awesome. You are all wonderful humans. I think I'm just so impressed by you because as a student, I don't think that I even had the wherewithal to be thinking about some of the questions you guys have posed, to be considering some of the issues that you're wrestling through. So you're like light years ahead of where I was, especially some of you as students, you know, who are juniors or seniors. So I'm just so impressed with you. I think that our city is in amazing hands, that our alumni association at large is in amazing hands, if that means that the torch will be passed off to your hands, guys. I'm excited to see your names in the media and articles on billboards, on my TV, on my computer, on my cell phone. You know, I'm really proud of you as students and as professionals, and really honored to count myself among you guys.
Thank you. Hopefully it's not in a police blotter. Thank you again to our wonderful Roc Talk speakers, Blue and Gold Society ambassadors, and the Young Alumni Advisory Team members for helping to make this night possible. For everyone in our audience, join us tomorrow for a pre-game chalk talk at noon before Pitt beats Notre Dame. For more information about our upcoming events, you can visit us at homecoming.pitt.edu. Additionally, don't forget to stay connected by following the Young Alumni Advisory Team on social media, which is at Pitt Young Alums. I know a couple of you have already started to follow us tonight, so thank you. And don't forget to utilize our great platform specifically for Pitt students and alumni, which is called Pitt Commons. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Until then, thank you and hail to Pitt.